I have no idea what's happening to Twitch, but fuck it, dude. Yeah, it works.
The issue being, when compared to similar titles, it's pretty subpar. It lacks a presentation and story, and makes the game feel quite mechanical focused more so than anything else. And even if those mechanics are good, I mean IGN scored it an 8 out of 10, which is pretty impressive all things considered, it wasn't anything more than that. It at the very least though would show people that there were some legs on the Blacklight IP. Within the same month that Blacklight Tango came out, Zombie Studios would already announce they were in production for the next Blacklight title. The sequel would feature the same Unreal Engine 3 and naturally the same IP, Blacklight. Zombie Studios in the past with Blacklight Tango, which was like, sounds funny to say past because it's like just a couple of weeks ago, but would state that they felt that they were unfairly judged on their shooter because it was actually an arcade shooter and not a full-priced game. This could be why they very likely went into the direction of more so free-to-play with their next game, or it could just be because of the publisher that they chose to get in bed with. E3 2011 would be the first time that real details would be released concerning Blacklight Retribution, as the sequel would now be dubbed. Starting with the publisher previously hinted at, Perfect World Entertainment, PWE has been featured on this series before, actually a few times, and frankly speaking has a pretty poor Western reputation and reception. In this case, where there's smoke, there's fire, and I used to work in fire stopping, so I kinda know what I'm talking about. And PWE has a steady and consistent track record with taking microtransactions to the next level, which is great for their coffers and not for everyone else's. Blacklight Retribution's progression was seemingly more of an RPG than a standard shooter, allowing you to customize nearly everything about your character and the tools that you would use. You could even level up your skills using a skill tree, more akin to an RPG. This meant that besides just being a free-to-play offering with mechs, which was already pretty cool I should add, they were offering something that looked like a real shooter and offered some features that the other real shooters didn't, making them stand apart uniquely. BLR would showcase itself for the first time in open beta, February 27, 2012, showing off publicly the HRV vision that allowed you to wall hack to see your opponents and the hardsuit mechs that were unique for the time. For reference, as much credit as Titanfall gets for having mechs in it, BLR actually did this 4 years prior as a free-to-play game. The only issue I really have with the launch cycle of BLR is that how fast they were showcased in open beta following how fast they would then launch. To be fair, they were pretty polished in open beta, so perhaps this was just them having confidence in their product, but I think that they would have had a better outcome had they actually spent more time on marketing, which would have helped some things some. Blacklight Retribution would launch April 3rd, 2012 and would first come to the PC. This would be a contrast to the previous game, which would actually launch on nearly all platforms, and it felt like a bit of a regression. Regardless, on aggregate review website Metacritic, Blacklight Retribution would score an impressive 75 out of 100. I say impressive because this is a free-to-play shooter with a small budget that was made in a pretty short time. IGN and Destructoid would both score BLR an impressive score with an 85 and 90 respectively, citing massive improvements from the previous shooter and a really good value for free. This is not only a great example of a professional, incredible free-to-play game, but it's also one of the best first-person shooters I've played. I'm quite serious when I say that too. This game is a serious FPS contender, and the freemium status should not diminish your expectations. I wholeheartedly recommend you jump in and give it a try. It'll cost only your time to give it a whirl, and I'm certain that it will be time well spent. Not all reviews were so glowing. GameSpot would score Blacklight Retribution a mere 6.5 out of 10, stating that although the game had solid shooting mechanics, the highly touted hardsuits were kind of clunky and awkward, and the new weapons and gear that you would attain were costly, requiring you to spend in real life money if you wanted to circumvent the grind process. This was pretty typical with most free-to-play games, but especially ones that were published and proliferated by Perfect World Entertainment. And that's where I kind of see BLR's issue, or more so Zombie Studios' issue. They wanted to prove to people with Tango that the IP worked, and once they secured a publisher, and thus funding, they...
Mine meow. I'm good. How are you? I don't know if you can hear me. I think, yep. Mine meow. Meow meow. Should be enough. Damn. Thanks for the follow. Mine meow. Alright, I need maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit of teas. And then I'm good. We need buffs. We need buffs. Any priests? No priests. Hold up. Yep. Chicken McNuggets. Magnus Cup. Any priests? No priests. Hold up. $100 for 1 iron? It's legit good. Should craft those. Any priest? Oh, okay. Twitch doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work. Let's get a buff. Then I'm gonna milkers. Can you get a buff? Give me buffs, please. AB, please. AB. Can I get a buffs? No buffs. Buffers. What is this? I feel like I want to get that one. Butterfly mask. Demi-humans. Butterfly mask. Dude, it's not a... What? Masquerade. It's called Masquerade. It's the only one.
They were able to make a bigger and more ambitious version of that game. They even admitted this in the behind the scenes, where they stated that Blacklight Retribution was essentially everything Tango wasn't able to be. The problem being is that this publisher in question was PWE, and they most likely were targeting the push towards BLR having so many microtransactions in it, which would end up being the most negatively cited thing about the game. Microtransactions or not, Blacklight Retribution was a solid game, and was set to launch on Steam in the summer of 2012 following its spring launch. It's at this time that we can start tracking the population data using the Steam charts and see that BLR was hitting an impressive 5,000 or so peak players daily. This is not only good for modern numbers, but especially for 2012, a time where they were competing with like Gears of War 3, Modern Warfare 3, and even Battlefield 3. Zombie Studios would speak to journalists and announce that they had plans to work on another project, this time using Unreal Engine 4 and targeting a psychological thriller for the PC. While it's not unheard of a long-standing video game development studio who's already made dozens of games to keep making games, it's worth reporting that the next announced game wasn't a Blacklight game, which was noteworthy to me. It also should be noted that if the next project doesn't do well, it would put way more pressure on Blacklight Retribution to perform. The first major patch would hit BLR the following year, dubbed Onslaught, and would add the Onslaught Zombie Defense mode, which was kind of fitting for the studio name, but a bit random given the context of the game, which was actually a story about two different mercenary groups fighting amongst each other. It was both confusing gameplay-wise and even lore-wise. But the patch would also include a whopping 3 new maps and some new mutators, so it was still positively received. Later the same year, Blacklight would launch on PS4 finally, with some rumors to an Xbox launch later on, though that would never actually come. But here's some cool box art.
No,
this PS4
gonna get a
launch
buffs.
would occur October 2013. However, was more than just a platform
hell,
launch.
dude.
During this time, since crossplay wasn't really a thing, BLR's PS4 version would require a different version to function in the same capacity. What I mean is that the two games wouldn't be the same. While this might not matter in the big scheme of things, it would matter in the sense of what the future would hold for the series and the shooter. If they found more success with their console launch, it might make them focus more on that, and if they focused more on that, it would make the PC audience either neglected or... yeah. BLR would receive a number of updates on PC for the next 2 years, but none of them were really named patches, and only a few of them would even add any content. Whether it's because BLR never met expectations, or Zombie Studios founders being bored of game development after like 20 years and 30 games, Zombie Studios would close shop January 2015, with the founders citing a desire to
Twitch
move on
is
and retire,
acting weird.
which they would, from video game development altogether. This would seem like a good thing. Put it into the hands of somebody else who's young and hungry, because maybe they could take over and actually do some big things. But instead, the series of events that came later basically guaranteed that we wouldn't see Blacklight Retribution much longer, and we wouldn't even see another Blacklight game. Following a small core team still working on the game after Zombie Studios is shuttering, Hardsuit Labs would actually steer the ship without PWE now, named of course from Blacklight directly. But that would mean they wouldn't have their bills paid by PWE anymore. And with this handoff, Hardsuit would promise a release in Russia, a big PC update, and the continued development of new content and updates. The big patch that would come, which would literally doom the game and change the entire franchise's prospects in the future, the parity patch, as it was being dubbed, or the stability patch, as it was absolutely not, would drop November 2015 and would basically kill whatever good faith and will was left for the game, convincing players that the new management seemed absolutely clueless, even more so than the previous one. Let's talk about what the actual positive aspects of the patch were, at least what they were designed to be. The patch's desire, or intention, was to bring increased consistency for both versions of the game. The problem being, as Brink also learned in a sense, is that the games were different, and they were built the games were very different, and the PS4 version played a little tighter in some aspects.
You know what? Fuck it.
In games like Call of Duty, this can usually be circumvented, because you get a lot more aim assist and stuff like that, but generally speaking, it's difficult to do. Worse, the PS4 version played a lot more smooth, and that could be probably related to the fact that UE3 just ran better on consoles historically, at least for shooters. But this new patch would now make BLR on PC play like the COD game version of the game on PS4. And I'm talking like added sprint, no special traits anymore, and the new graphic user interface that somehow was worse? I mean, many PC players, if you can imagine, felt that their game overnight had seemingly been made for controllers more so than the mouse and keyboards that they have been playing on it for years, and made for a different audience altogether. Effectively, BLR on PC had become a PC port to a PS4 version that came out after it. And for PC players, it was just a worse game. A more COD-like game that shed many of the unique aspects that BLR was known for. It was just a total mess. Hardsuit Labs wouldn't totally give up though, and would put out a number of new updates with new features. However, something that you can even see just by reading the patch notes is that BLR was updating things like Gunsway after 4 years after the game's launch, which just felt misled and bizarre. BLR seems to have that issue kind of chronically as a game. Instead of getting new things and more of it, devs seemed keen on making it something else, in an apparent attempt to attract another audience. Whether that's because of the expectations placed on Blacklight as a series, before it ever even got started, or just not being happy with being one of the best free-to-play games, and wanting to be one of the biggest ones too.
I'll be back. Yo, where are the freaking...
While the new updates were wanted, many felt that the container itself at this point, due to the parity patch, was just already destroyed past repair. But imagine for a second if Blacklight Retribution got as much support as like Dirty Bomb did, or even like Rainbow Six. We would still be talking about Blacklight today a lot more than just in passing. The last new features to drop for BLR would drop September 2016, and through subsequent patches, Hardsuit would try to make BLR more like it was during its PC version, but it was too little too late. And worse, it was almost worse doing it that way. because it's like rubbing salt in my wounds and asking for me to pat you on the back for it, especially when you're the one that cut me in the first place. After the parody patch, the population, especially on Steam, had dropped off of a cliff and was under sub 1,000 peak players. Within a few more years, and it would be announced that support for Blacklight Retribution would be ending altogether, and the servers would be brought down shortly after. Hardsuit Labs would cite a low player count and a desire to move on to other games and projects, which would end up being true because it turns out that they would actually end up securing a very important high-profile video game contract, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. However, shortly after, including even going as far to make the demo with gameplay and all, and Hardsuit Labs would be replaced by another developer and given quite negative publicity due to such. However, if you actually watch the gameplay and trailer of both versions of the game, Hardsuit Labs' version actually seems better, but besides footage of it online that exists, we will never really know. Though my personal take is that it seems like Paradox is more so to blame than whatever studios they put in charge. But back to Blacklight Retribution, the servers for BLR would shut down for good March 11, 2019, and the PS4 version would actually hobble on quietly for a few more years, before also being brought down. That's because the PS4 version was actually peer-to-peer, and not based on dedicated servers, which was actually kind of one of the cooler aspects of the BLR on PC because you could rent servers with your tokens. Well, you could. Not anymore, of course. Following all of the flux, Hardsuit Labs would be acquired by Keyword Studios. Hardsuit Labs, besides their work on Retribution, is known for helping developers with projects of their own. Hardsuit Labs has made more of a reputation from assisting other people on their projects more so than creating their own unique projects. I mean, they haven't made one since Retribution. While you could look at this and think, well, how on earth are they still around? I think it actually shows that there's a lot of talent on the team, and they have an ability to adapt when they need to. Not all video game developers can be the big major ones, and going from a Resurrection Project team on an abandoned game to working with the likes of Epic Games, Call of Duty, and Fortnite is actually pretty impressive. And as such, I look forward to seeing what Hardsuit Labs is capable of, and I wish them the best in their future endeavors, whatever they might be. Make another Blacklight game. Blacklight Retribution has been dead now for 5 years, but the good news is that the game is not fully dead. In fact, you can still play the game. That's because, as is a reoccurring event, almost like a lore reoccurring event at this point in the series, the community would band together and find a way to make Blacklight Retribution still playable on PC. Dubbed BLR Revive, you could not only play against the bots on your own, you could play with other players if they were on your server. This would allow for Blacklight Retribution to still be preserved and, to be honest, even in 2025, look still pretty good. Especially if you never really got into the faster pacedness of Titanfall or Apex, which arguably are kind of extensions of the game. So if you didn't get a chance to play it the first time around, you still have that chance. Well,
yo, where are the priests?
Customize your character and get to using those powerful hardsuits now. The music is playing, everybody, which means that this mystery has all but come to an end. With the official servers of Blacklight Retribution shut down and no further sequels seemingly planned, the story of Blacklight Retribution, and thus Blacklight, has come to an end. What went wrong with what started out as one of the best free-to-play shooters? How did Blacklight die after just 2 games, despite the promise for many more, including a feature-length film? Well, in case you missed any of the clues along the way, it was pay-to-win, PvE style. Overly ambitious goals. The original studio folded. The creators of the game moved on. The parody PS4 disaster patch. Blacklight Retribution, a title I will probably never forget, as I would play it during the build-up to the new Battlefield game of the time. I think it's an incredibly unlikely hit, and not a very well-known one outside of the circle that played it. Zombie Studios might be mostly forgotten now, but at least Blacklight and thus their legacy continues to live on in some form with a private server, and including with the remnants of their company who went on to form Hardsuit Labs. I have to root for any game that attempts something new and different, and well, has mechs in it, I'm not gonna lie, I'm that biased. Blame Gundam. But until the next title that does such, and until the next free-to-play shooter that comes out and pushes the boundaries of expectations yet again. Thanks for watching, and let me know in the comments below what you thought of Blacklight Retribution, and what was most memorable to you, and why you think the game failed. Until the next case, detectives.
There's a new one though. Not that one though. The culture is dying. What the hell went wrong and what we learned? Oversaturated. Yo, can I get a buff, please? Can we get a buffs, please? 80, please. Where can I make Bunny Band? Culture is dying. I want to see this. I want to see shrouds. Hype beasts. There's just no buffers. That's crazy. You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna make irons. They're like 100. Where is it? I got so much irons. Where's my really gone down? This one's 50. Damn. Iron hits 30. This one hits about 25. Get those. Oh, ho, ho, ho. No boppers. Jesus. Oh, Twitch is finally. What? Hold up. Jesus. Hold up. Hold up. Multi-chat is lagging. Okay, fuck that. Wait, that one tails. God damn.
The sneaker market, after a decade of long growth, it's finally contracting, and not only sneaker resellers are feeling the pain, although they definitely are. Even the big wigs like Nike are getting crushed by consumer disinterest and thus fleeing to other more innovative brands. I'm Reggie Casual, and this is a business video. We have no idea what it's gonna be called, but we back with business. Let's get it. All right, so what's up everybody? Welcome to our business videos where we talk fashion, business, forecasting, and the industry at large. We haven't really named it yet, so maybe you guys got some ideas. Anyway, today we got sneakers, a topic we have covered ad nauseum on the channel, but before it was more like I was just complaining. Now it's like we need to be a bit more serious about the real world implications and the business aspect of it. And why some of you fashion entrepreneurs out there should take notice and use this crash as fair warning for your future fashion endeavors. Yeah. So, what are the facts? So as far as the sneaker industry is concerned, retail intelligence platform Edited has observed these changes, raising concerns about the potential collapse of an industry that seems to underestimate its competition and lacks innovation. This phenomenon is reflected in the words of Yu Ming Wu, former CMO of Stadium Goods. Those of you who are in the sneaker game, you know what that is. Where he says, at one point, dunks were impossible to get at resale for anything less than 3 or 4 times the original price. Today, you can walk into any Foot Locker, any retail store, and get dunks or Jordans at retail or even better on sale, which is crazy. Well, that would be crazy, but that is good for the consumer. I'm sure they love the fact that they don't have to pay 3 to 4 times the amount, you mean? There's only one problem. They no longer care, which is the reason why they go on sale. Take TikTok's favorite sneaker, for example, the Adidas Gazelle. I'm still saying it that way. Suffers from similar issues with a staggering 600% of its stock left unsold in 2023 signaling a clear disconnect between supply and consumer demand, and also revealing the dangers
Bro,
of chasing
show stat,
popularity
please.
on TikTok trends. Apparently, the Gazelle was
Stats?
everywhere and super popular, but not nearly as popular as social media made it out to be.
It's not that
And then
bad. It's
we
not
get the
that complicated,
sneaker
dude.
resale market.
This is my stats right here.
Everyone's favorite
99,
punching bag,
66,
at least
69.
those who aren't sellers themselves, a lot of people
99,
hate
66,
reselling
69.
in the sneaker game. Once a lucrative arena for quick profits due to limited stock and high demand, it has also shown signs of unsustainability. Who could have predicted that? Basically, resellers priced out the people that made the sneakers cool in the first place, who could put them together in outfits and make them look good and just make them a part of the culture. For instance, Nike's strategy of ramping up production of popular models like Jordans and Dunks has depreciated their resale value, further straining the secondary market. Similarly, Adidas' decision to terminate its Yeezy line following the controversy with Ye has cut off a significant source of hype and exclusivity. And don't get on me about mentioning it. That happened, okay? Why are you mentioning it? No, it happened, okay? It just happened. Anyway, moving on. Despite these challenges, some resilience is observed in the secondary market. Platforms like GOAT and StockX have diversified their offerings to include trading cards and electronics, buffering against the declining sneaker resale profit. Amidst these market dynamics, Nike, for instance, the big guy, has taken aggressive legal actions against competitors and other entities in the last few years. A tactic they've employed more strategically in the past became more lenient in the middle years and far more forceful today, demanding payouts from brands that even sniff the air of their
Too
classic
savage,
models.
baby.
However, this approach can have an adverse effect,
2 times Magnolia,
alienating
good
consumers,
art build.
and for a company that has championed customization in the past, for many,
That's
it's
only
a bit
good
of an
for, like,
undertake and kind of a line
early
step.
game.
You line stepped right there.
As a, you know,
And
as a
moreover,
hunter
here's
myself,
the
right?
distraction from the core
Hold
issues
up.
of
As a farmer myself, it's only good for like early game, that build. If you're leveling up. I feel like it's such a waste too. If you have a lot of money, go for it. But if you're like, you know, tight on money, I don't know. Why am I killing Anolians? Because this Anolian drops a accessory, this one, brooch, and I could sell it. And I need it. I need one, and I need the card. That's why I'm killing it. I've gotten one already, but it's on my merchant. I'm selling it. Nope. Damn it. Okay, whatever. I'm gonna be here for like a couple hours, so it's gonna take a while. I have 85 Crusader Holy cross build for you on 89. I forgot the Are we playing on the same server? Are you on the same server just like I am? Because you can farm undeads if you're a cross build holy crusader. Oh, we're on the same server. Okay. You can farm GH if you can. Or I guess you need party. Or do you like mobbing? You can mob as well if you want. I mean, you're a crusader, right? You're a tank. Or you can go to UT2. There's so many places you can farm. Yeah, you can tank, you can mob. If you can find party in UT3, then go for there. It's faster there. You can tank. I'll go work for me. Oh, you want to make money? Never mind. You want to make money? You can farm for cards. Go to if you want to know, go to Discord, Payon Stories Discord. They'll help you out. What's Cade? Which Cade? What do you mean? Oh, which card? You can farm Bone Chewer, Shades of Payon on UT2. If you can get those, you know what I'm saying? Or Dory. And then sell it. If you get a Bone Chewer card, sell it for like 2.8, 3 million. And then if you get shades of Payon, then you can sell it for like 5 million. I don't know if you're lucky. If you want to know where to get the best money, go to a Discord, Payon Stories, and then ask people there. They'll help you out, dude. Zerum card? Oh, you found a Zerum card and then you're you're vending it for 2.2 and no one's buying it? I mean, you can sell it for lower if you want. If you really need money, you gotta sell it lower. You know what I'm saying? Oh, there it is. Wanna kill that guy? There's a mini boss. We gotta kill that shit. I'm gonna die. Hopefully he drops something. I need I need an item. Who died? Nothing. I didn't get any shit. Zerum card. Zero card. Where are you farming right now? Child in game. What? Your English. Oh, your English is not good. Where are you from, dude? Yeah, I can tell your English. Yeah. You can. Hold up. I can't really type in, you know. Oh, you're from Turkey. Oh, from Turkey. Oh, you're playing on Payon Stories? Playing Turkey? Interesting. I don't know. You started playing Ragnarok in 2002? Damn, that's so... I started playing, yeah, the same thing. I started playing Ragnarok 2002. And then I just came back. I don't even remember most of it. I have to ask people. Your stats is... I think it's fine. Wait. I have to type in and then hold up. Go download Discord and join Stories. There you go. I'm typing something, dude. So hopefully you understand it. It's it's they blocked Discord in Turkey? Why? It's all forbidden? Hold up, my YouTube is acting weird. Oh. Why is your chat not showing to my chat? It's all forbidden? Damn. Well, that sucks. I have a level 99 with 9685. Oh, damn. You have a lot of... How do you not know where to farm, dude? Damn. Okay, you have a lot of characters. How come you don't? There's too many worms. Oh, he's gone.
Innovation and consumer engagement. Adding to the turmoil, Nike's recent decision to lay off more than 2,000 employees reflects deeper strategic and operational challenges within the company, alongside a very unstable economy. Despite these drawbacks, industry analysts like Statista project a growth spurt in the global sneaker market, estimating at around 5.18%, an increase from 2024 to 2028. This suggests a potential for recovery and growth if brands can realign with consumer expectations and rejuvenate their innovation pipelines. I'm supposed to say that. I'm supposed to say it in that way. Emerging brands like On and Salomon are capitalizing on this shift, introducing innovative designs that blend performance with fashion-forward elements, leading to so-called sports style footwear trend, because everything has to be a trend and they gotta make up a word for it anyway. With some models edging out basketball shoes as the second-hand market's hottest sneakers. But without the cultural cachet, it's hard to tell if this trend upwards is sustainable for these new models. Who's to know? We don't know, because trends move so fast today. But what does that mean for fashion entrepreneurs today? And how can they learn from the sneaker market woes? We'll tackle some of those points of business right after a word from our sponsor, Squarespace, so stay tuned for that. All right, so quite often when it comes to stuff like this, you know, all that data, whatever, for some of you young entrepreneurs out there, someone telling you about all the minutiae of business without the cold hard truth, it gets kind of granular, but this is the casual, and that is my specialty. Let's make it casual. So what can fashion entrepreneurs learn from the sneaker meltdown? So one, diversification is key. Just like platforms like GOAT and StockX have expanded beyond sneakers to stabilize their business, fashion brands should consider broadening their product range to buffer against market fluctuations. So yeah, you know, you don't have to do this at the beginning, but you certainly have to think about it. Don't just say, oh, we're just gonna do this and keep on giving people the same thing over and over and over and over and over again as your consumers get older and expect something just a little bit different. You ain't gotta do it at the beginning, but you certainly should think about it as you become more successful. Number two, innovation drives interest. The success of newcomers like On and Salomon in the sneaker market is largely due to their innovative designs and collaboration. Fashion brands must continually innovate to maintain consumer interest and competitiveness. But I have to be real with you. Innovation doesn't mean just do something new. And I always like to use like Nintendo in this situation. So many of you out there are probably familiar with Nintendo's console. It's called the Switch. It's a hybrid handheld console, right? So you can play it on the screen and you can take it out and you can play it with you, right? All of that is existing technology, just used in a different way. And something that really hasn't been seen on the market, and then after it, other people copied it. You have the Steam Deck, you have the Asus thing. So you have this kind of different way of looking at technology that's already there. And you can certainly do that in fashion. In fact, fashion does that all the time. Doing something slightly different that's familiar to the audience can certainly give you new direction and give you new insight into doing something innovative. So number 3, you need to understand market dynamics. That's a very complicated way of saying just understand what's happening. You see that in the resale market in sneakers. People just didn't know what they were getting into. They think the wave was gonna last forever. But there's always a time when there's going to be a downturn. And those who evolve during that downturn understand the marketing dynamics and they expand. Number 4, this is really important, stay ahead of consumer trends. The shift from hyped releases to more accessible and varied footwear reflects changing consumer preferences in the sneaker industry. Entrepreneurs should keep a close eye on consumer behavior and adjust their strategies to align with these evolving trends. When you see people going in different directions, always understand why they're going in those different directions. I remember years ago, everybody was like, yeah, why doesn't Nike just make more sneakers? And they did that, and look what happened. Nobody's buying them anymore. And number 5, resilience through adversity, RTA. The current downturn in the sneaker resale market and the broader challenges faced by major brands like Nike and Adidas demonstrate that resilience and adaptability are crucial for long-term survival and growth. You need to be able to compete. Build a case for your brand or build a case for your business that works for the consumer, but also works for you. Now, while all of these factors can help one understand the challenges of building and maintaining standing in the ever-changing world of fashion, it also isn't the breadth of what you should know. It isn't everything. That's why we're bringing back our fashion industry insight and brand building course or brand building series, but with a new purpose and new direction. So instead of giving simple lessons on how to build a brand or just fashion industry stuff that's happening and marketing best practices, stuff that's kind of boring but you need to know, we'll be looking over case studies, stuff that brands are doing right now, current events in the industry, analyzing data and forming conclusions on how to approach the industry in a real-time effort to keep you up to speed on the new. The best thing, we're now going to be hosting all of this on YouTube. While in the past we did our best to maintain the effort on Patreon, the amount of content required and back and forth nature of the platform prevented us from doing things in the moment. And that's what we really love to do. By giving these small case studies and intro lessons on the main channel and expanding those on our very own YouTube membership page, we can get you all the information you need as well as extended content for those entrenched in the business of fashion. In the coming days, at the time of this episode, we'll be offering our full fashion startup course for members on YouTube. If you become a member, you're gonna get a full course, a full beginner's course, right? Which is gonna be awesome. While all this will also be transferred to our current Patreon members, they already got it, we encourage new members to join right here on YouTube. You'll be privy to membership posts on our community page, discounts on future merch, as well as an extra business content and webinars. Now, for all of you who are worried, we'll still be covering Japanese fashion. That's going to be a primary source, but we're gonna be going out there discovering Japanese fashion. That's gonna be a big part of the channel, so no worries on that front if that's why you're here. But this is our way of pivoting back to what we do best, discovering fashion beyond borders, that is, here in Japan, and understanding the industry beyond consuming. And that is all she wrote. I really have nothing else to add on that matter. In any case, be on the lookout for more stuff from the casual in a classic way. Join up if you can, and if not, do the best thing from there. And that is like, sub, and comment below on the sneaker topic that we just covered today, or what you'd like to see next on the channel. You can put all that down in the comments. Just do what you want, right? Have at you. But most importantly, keep it locked right here for all of your info in international fashion culture and business from Tokyo. It's your boy and casual. That's Moss. I'll see you guys.
Spectre Divide is dead. Just 2 weeks after the launch of Season 1, the developers of Spectre Divide, the tax shooter tied to Shroud, announced that it will be closing its studio this week and shutting servers down within the next 30 days. Another brutal hit for the gaming industry. Jobs lost, players refunded, and at least $65 million in funding gone. So how did we get here? In November of last year, we released a video discussing the state and health of the newly released free-to-play FPS, Spectre Divide. Now, I won't get into too much detail, but to bring you all up to speed in case you don't know, it was a 3v3 tax shooter heavily inspired by Counter-Strike and Valorant. Its main selling feature was a mechanic that allowed you to control two bodies in a round, letting you freely switch between them and their respective locations, effectively giving you two lives. It was pretty neat, but a lot of the game's initial buzz was thanks to Shroud, who promoted it as an angel investor and collaborator. However, as addressed in my last video, Spectre Divide was never really able to get off the ground, and Shroud wasn't exactly helpful, at least not visibly. Its launch did see a peak of 26,000 players on Steam, but interest for the game quickly evaporated as the daily player count dropped to under 1,000. I did go over some of the issues fans had with Spectre Divide: cheaters, missing features, quality of life stuff, the usual. But honestly, to the average gamer, there didn't seem to be a lot of interest for this title in the first place. Even Shroud wasn't playing it. At the time of that video, I said he hadn't streamed it since September 18th, and according to Twitch Tracker, he's only played it one more time, and that was at the beginning of March. Now, Shroud is an investor, and has likely no obligation to actually play this game if he doesn't want to. But after a little digging, it seems there are a lot of other investors as well. Tarek, It's Timmy, Co-Carnage, and Paul George for whatever reason. But when the title to your first video is, quote, "We're launching a new game," it's going to be a bad look to your audience when you don't play it or talk about it while mainlining pretty much every other title there is. That being said, I don't really think this is why the game failed, which brings us to the bad news. On March 12th, Nate Mitchell, the CEO of the game studio Mountaintop, released a lengthy statement announcing that Spectre Divide and the studio would be shutting down. They released a substantial gameplay update along with their first season, but after 2 weeks, the player count and money spent wasn't generating enough revenue for any of it to stay afloat. The statement continues, saying they attempted every avenue, including selling, but nothing was able to work. Spectre Divide will be shutting down within the next 30 days, and Mountaintop itself by the end of this week. I should also point out that they are offering refunds for any money spent on cosmetics during Season 1. Now, what follows that are some pretty candid remarks from Nate Mitchell about the process, and a glimpse into what he thinks might have went wrong. He obviously thanks his team, investors, the community, and everyone else who played a role in Spectre Divide, but also admits that they may have missed the mark and knew that odds were going to be against them from the very beginning. And he concludes by saying that the industry has changed a lot since they first broke ground in 2020. And this is my main takeaway. A lot of people are discussing what could have caused Spectre Divide to fail, from the oversaturation of this genre to one novel new feature not being enough to really grab people's attention. And I think that these are both true, but I also believe that this failure is just a symptom of a much larger trend we're seeing in the industry right now. When Mountaintop first started making this game, audiences wanted vastly different things than they do right now. You make a studio during the pandemic, create some remote jobs, and start working on a passion project in a genre that really only has one giant taking up the bulk of the market. Years of hard work go by, and suddenly the genre is bloated. There's another massive tax shooter with a similar art philosophy, and what gamers want is wildly different. Meanwhile, you have employees with families to feed and $65 million in funds that you raised. You don't just give up, and it gets to a point where you can't really pivot either. So it's too late to do anything else but see it through to the end. I believe this is the exact same thing we saw with Concord, and I believe that we're going to see it again with more games, especially live service shooters. Hell, I even suspect that Ubisoft has gone through the exact same thing with Assassin's Creed Shadows, a game that should have been out for a long time ago. But the feedback for a game that they started working on a long time ago was not good. So they put it back in the oven in hopes that they could save what they built and tailor the experience to be more in line with what gamers want right now. Anyway, those are just my thoughts, and I'm sure they're not entirely unique, but regardless, I do appreciate the transparency from Nate Mitchell, who has been responding to people on Twitter in regards to this whole announcement. The response in general has been pretty supportive, a lot of people saying they did enjoy the game, and wish the devs the best going forward, but obviously there are going to be some people gloating about being right. But I'll remind you, these are people with lives and families who now have to find new work. And at the end of the day, regardless whether a game missed the mark or not, this isn't a good sign for the future of the industry, whether you're an indie studio or a AAA publisher. Facts. No printer. Chips. No salsa. Coffee. No paper. No, that didn't work.
Oh, there you go. Odin Valhalla.
What's up everyone, Gids here for another video, and today I tested out this new game that just came out today called Odin Valhalla Rising. And yeah, this is going to be a video about my first impressions after spending a good chunk of time in the early game, spending a few hours on this one. It's not going to be a full review of the game, just raw honest thoughts from the few hours of gameplay that I've had with the game. So if you're wondering whether to download it or just to skip this game, this video should help. Okay, so first off, let's talk about graphics, because usually graphics, the visuals are what is going to get the player's eyes and attract people into playing a game like this. So yeah, look at my character. She looks nice, man. There's going to be a character creation section later for the classes, and I'll be showing you some stuff that you can tweak when it comes to character creation. But for now, let's load into the game and take a look at the world. Okay, now we are in the world, and if you look at it graphics wise, this actually...
I'm gonna play this. Let's try it. I'm gonna try it. After this... Oh, it's a mobile game. What? I'll play it. Come on. dancing around. Yes. Where's Logi at? Oh, it's back up. Mutant Dragonoid. No. Okay. No drop. Interesting, dude. a mobile
In today's
MMO.
video, I'm going to walk you through everything you need to know before starting Odin Valhalla Rising. This is especially important if you're new to MMORPGs, so even if you're just curious about the game, stick around. This will help you avoid common early mistakes and get a smoother start. First off, let's talk about something many mobile gamers are used to, re-rolling. In Odin, re-rolling is not recommended.
Okay,
Unlike
it's
many
on
gacha-based
mobile.
games where re-rolling for better initial draws
I'm not
is standard
playing
practice,
that.
Odin places a much bigger emphasis on long-term progression. The sooner you start playing and building up your character, the better off you'll be. So don't waste your time trying to re-roll for perfect gear. Just jump in and play. Before you even create your character, you'll need to choose a server. This is super important because Odin doesn't allow cross-server play. If you want to play with friends, family, or guildmates, you all need to create your characters on the same server. So be sure to coordinate with your group ahead of time. Once your server is set, the next big decision is your class. Odin offers 4 first-tier classes: Warrior, Sorceress, Rogue, and Priest. Each has its own unique playstyle and strengths, and keep in mind, you can't change your class later. However, you can create up to 3 characters on a single server even as a free-to-play player. So feel free to experiment a bit and choose what suits your style best. After creating your character, your first goal is to progress through the main quest line. This serves as both your tutorial and your early leveling system. Odin makes it easy with a quest button that auto-navigates, initiates dialogue, and even activates auto-combat. It's beginner-friendly and lets you focus on learning the basics without being overwhelmed. Speaking of auto-combat, this is a key feature in Odin. It allows your character to fight monsters automatically, even farming experience and loot while you step away to study, cook, or just relax. To make the most of this, you should enable no kill steal mode. This prevents your character from
I need
stealing
to farm
monsters
Elus,
other
man.
players are already attacking, which can cause unnecessary conflict, or even trigger PvP later on. Always keep it on unless you're having trouble progressing a quest due to crowded areas. In that case, it's okay to turn it off briefly just to move past the bottleneck. Don't forget about consumable items, especially health potions. You can buy HP
It's a
potions
freaking
and
mobile
drugs from
MMO,
gem
man.
potions.
I'm not playing that, dude.
tactical shooter since its release in 1998 as a mod for Half-Life. Nowadays, the most recent iteration of the franchise, Counter-Strike 2, breaks player records regularly and routinely shatters viewership records. So how did a mod from 2 college students shape every FPS game made in the last 25 years? The first thing anybody will notice when they play Counter-Strike for the first time are the relatively simple gameplay mechanics. There's no slide canceling, there's no second chances, there's no going invisible, and there's no Mozambique here. There isn't even any ADSing, unless you have the AUG. Wanna shoot? Can't move. You gotta stop, then spray. When you spray, the bullets don't follow the crosshair. They can go all over the place too, so you gotta pull down to offset that. Many think this is bad quality of life. We have 2 rules at the start concerning how you interface with the game. While every other FPS in the current landscape is rife with arguments about how the bullets should go this way instead of that way, this character's overpowered, my favorite character was good and now they're bad. Every FPS game has this intense, heated, passionate, back and forth kind of conversation about what the game should be like. Reddit threads, locked forums, deleted comments, and when it comes down to Counter-Strike, nobody really has a problem with it. Without limitations, without simplicity, Counter-Strike isn't Counter-Strike. These are deliberate design choices to limit variables and limit randomness, making the game more akin to a competitive sport. Before Counter-Strike started getting popular, just about every FPS game you played, at least the ones a part of the so-called boomer shooter era, gave, even encouraged, the ability to strafe, shoot, and whip around the map with big, pitch-perfect, accurate guns at light speed. We had arena multiplayer shooters, games like Quake, games like Unreal Tournament. This emphasizes mechanical talent, which is all well and good, but Counter-Strike emphasizes tactical talent, the little decision-making points you gotta go through when you go from point A to point B. It means when you're in the process of shooting, you're an easy target, so somebody can capitalize on that timing and take you down. It means there is a positioning advantage for staying in cover and reacting to the opponent as they aren't in cover. It provides an incentive for precise crosshair placement, deliberate, thoughtful, well-decided movement. When you're forced to stop moving, when you're forced to take into account that you will lose your aiming point as you fire from a distance, it makes the position you're in, the moment you decide to take an engagement, matter. It makes every engagement meaningful and rewards you when you pull it off. In short, you have to use not just your brain, not just your hands, but both. Every weapon in Counter-Strike is purpose-built, with key advantages and disadvantages, but scoped weapons come with a number of downsides compared to their peers, especially the scoped rifles. You can't be as maneuverable with them, which makes you a sitting duck in a variety of engagements. However, if you want to hold a lawn corridor like the pixel angle on Palace or the lawn sightline on Abs, then the AUG's not a bad idea. Counter-Strike rewards you for picking the right tool for the right job, but also has fair punishments for trying to shoehorn things where they don't belong, or for overlooking the core mechanics of the game. One other thing Counter-Strike does a good job of is not overcomplicating the sheer amount of stuff you can use. In the modern FPS landscape, every game development company is scrambling head over heels to provide to the newly grown generation of iPad babies who have the attention span of an adult chicken.
The dream's alive, chickens. Come on, come on, come on, buddies. Yes. There we go. There we go. Yes, my boys. Oh my God.
Counter-Strike has been this way for a pretty long time, and it's grown a more loyal, passionate, and involved fan base by just sticking to what it is and sticking to core values of its design. It doesn't need to keep adding crap because what it's already done is essentially the backbone of FPS game design as you know it. One aspect that Counter-Strike did before anybody else was combine the worlds of strategy and tactics seamlessly with the economy system. In this example, the T's have planted the bomb and are poised to try and get some rounds on the board despite their 9-1 disadvantage. 2 remaining players, with an assured bomb detonation, go to the furthest corner of the map where they cannot be taken down from full HP by the bomb's detonation. It's important to stay alive despite winning the round because they have expensive rifles and they're dead broke. But the hero of our story is going to change that.
Position. Gambit has sent even more firepower there. Bring more.
This is so smart. Oh, this is huge. Doji's throwing a nade into the corner just as the bomb's gonna go off. They're both gonna go down. Get brained on. Doja with the dunk. That's so smart.
I've Never seen that before. Just as the bomb goes off as well, takes them both down. Sure, he doesn't get the frags for it, but he denies them so much money going forward as well.
The craziest part about this nade is that Immortals did claw back a ton of rounds afterward, which means it had impact all the way to the very end. The economy isn't just a limitation, it's a metric that adds weight to every individual play you make in Counter-Strike. It makes everything you do have meaning. At the start of the game, everybody starts out with crappy handguns. Do really well that round, and you can buy submachine guns, which aren't quite as good as rifles that you can probably buy the round afterward. But they have their own tricky aspects to them. If somebody's red hot, they can get a one-shot killing sniper rifle with a powerful scope to ensure nobody is going to walk down a particular lane, giving a massive amount of map control. But only if you have a ton of money. You have to earn the right to use that powerful thing, and you can lose that powerful thing just as easily as you gained it. Money is earned for planting the bomb, defusing the bomb, winning rounds, getting picks, and a number of other things. But the rewards are all different. Powerful weapons cost more, but often earn you less money. Weaker weapons cost less and can get you more money. For instance, shotguns are useless at anything but point-blank range, but at the right place and right time, and with good aim, you can take down an AK player, get a rifle, and make $900, as opposed to the $300 you typically get. That powerful sniper rifle we just talked about, you only get $100 for a kill with it. So the most powerful weapon in the game is the most expensive. But in a perfect world, it doesn't snowball to an unwinnable degree. There's still an opportunity to bounce back. In Call of Duty, if somebody in your lobby is on a hot streak, the snowballing effect can cause that match to become even more unwinnable as they farm kill streaks. But this is not the case in Counter-Strike. To overcome the opponent with a sniper rifle, you can outsmart them. Throw a smoke grenade to counter the angle so that you can cross safely. Then jump while throwing it, and now this guy can't snipe you anymore. Want to prevent the enemy from pushing without exposing yourself? Throw a Molotov at this post and bounce it so that it cuts off the doorway. Want to make an aggressive push down this lane? Throw a flashbang and force the enemy to move their crosshair. You're rewarded for learning the game, learning unique and outside-the-box solutions to problems with the most basic components. You can almost say Counter-Strike was responsible for the building blocks of FPS utility. Everything revolves around smoke, flash, fire, and frag. Nades get the most amount of value in Counter-Strike when your team plays around them, incentivizing you to work together in a natural, sensible way. What benefits the team benefits you. In Counter-Strike, every benefit has a downside, and every downside can be overcome with skill. Take another example about weapon balancing. You can't run and shoot very well unless you're up close with an MP9 submachine gun. Then you can shoot while moving, but you gotta be up close, and you can still get one-shotted in the head. Every engagement, every decision you make, every upside, every punishment is fair. That's Counter-Strike. It's just fair. Like any sport, someone with raw talent can sometimes just brute force their way to a certain point of success. You can, in a perfect world, ignore all of this stuff and just shoot him. But not everybody's the GOAT of aiming, and even Lionel Messi got to where he is with good understanding of the game. You can shoot as much as you want, but ultimately, you gotta contextualize that the game is not just about shooting. If the game wasn't the classic 5v5 plant the bomb to win formula we've all come to know and love, not that many people would care. In fact, a lot of people didn't care. When Counter-Strike first dropped, most people would have scoffed at the very idea of making a game where if you died, you couldn't do anything for the next minute and a half. People would get bored and want to go do something else. But we get back to the point about limitations again. If the punishment for getting taken down in this game is that high, then that surely means that everything you do in this particular instance of gameplay has more meaning, right? It means let's rotate this site hit isn't working. It makes the act of planting the bomb or defending the bomb site important. It forces you to play the objective, because you can win the game without having to take a shot, theoretically. Sure, you can overcomplicate it, ignore the gunfighting part, and then just get got because you're not shooting back, but that's kind of the little dance that is Counter-Strike. Everything in Counter-Strike happens for a reason, and makes moments like Olaf Meister's Flaming Angel bomb defuse become so much more impactful. Counter-Strike's competitive nature isn't just a casual matter of fact. It's a beloved and cherished aspect of its community and culture.
Still going! Oh, Olaf just about gets it as the flames come in, and look at the little dance of happiness. That is how to control your nerves.
Counter-Strike's culture has a certain kind of staying power that makes communities of other games seem a bit small, comparably. It makes them all seem like independent niches that may not be irrelevant, but don't have the kind of invisible ocean-like quality that football has versus something like lacrosse. Unless you're from Massachusetts, and yeah, I guess lacrosse is a pretty big deal. Now remember, Counter-Strike is a competitive game after all, and frustrations can reach a boiling point, particularly when there's a communication issue.
Green, what is your problem, Green? What is your problem? Missile alone ramp. Missile alone ramp.
Instead of reprimanding this guy for his toxic and unsportsmanlike display that should very well not be condoned by any sensible, professionally upstanding citizen, they added a funny little sticker you could put on your gun. Instead of wagging their finger at people for being too mean in the game about military operators trying to prevent a thing from getting blown up, Valve leans into it and has some fun with it. Now, that doesn't mean you can be a complete and utter nitwit, but everybody gets a little heated once in a while, right? It's okay.
No, you are by yourself. Please, chicken coop. Chicken coop! Toots, where do you play? Have you ever played the snap before?
That's Mo. His history with the game in a competitive sense goes back a long time, all the way back to Counter-Strike's source, again in the mid-2000s. And he's not the only guy to make a big living off of streaming the game after playing it professionally for some time. Before Summit 1G was known for his widely popular, laid-back, yet engaging streaming style, he was a professional player too, and also had a moment in Counter-Strike history immortalized in his name. If it can happen at the highest professional levels, it can happen to you.
Summit's gonna clutch it, and Slice will close out map number 1, 16 to 11. Oh, wait.
I remember this shit.
What?
Okay then.
No! What happened? Oh no! Summit! No!
So, the point is, Counter-Strike is an intense game, and that makes for some intense, if not funny moments, too. Every moment feels personal and real. To that point, Counter-Strike has a lot of viral moments that make you laugh. It also has a lot of viral moments that make you astonished. And at a certain point, just like any traditional sport, we can't fit all of them in one video. But if you navigate some of the maps in-game, you can see tributes to many of these moments. Counter-Strike is more than a game. It's a shared life. And Valve deserves a lot of credit for fostering the game's esports component and culture shaping.
Actually, into the side, he's gonna fall down again. What is this clutch from Simple? Are you serious? What is that? You can't do that, Simple. That's not allowed. This is not FPL. This is a major.
Counter-Strike popularized the bomb defusal mode to entire generations of gamers, so much so to the point that you can definitely assume Call of Duty devs played Counter-Strike themselves and didn't mind copy-pasting it into the game under the name Search and Destroy. Esports is a contentious topic in just about every FPS community right now, and it's often blamed for a corporate greed-based fixation on balance over fun. But this isn't really the case in Counter-Strike. Getting mad at the esports component in Counter-Strike is kind of like getting mad at the green component of trees, or the water component of the ocean. In a little country you may have heard of is a big sport you may have heard of called soccer. Sorry. Denmark has more than 1,600 football clubs and 300,000 registered players. Kids, teenagers, and adults of every walk of life participate. It's no surprise then that one of the most decorated Counter-Strike teams of all time would be Astralis, carrying over that tradition of team-oriented, role-based sporting culture. Counter-Strike is a lot like football. When you're playing with your buddies, it's all well and good to have everybody run around and try to kick the ball as much as you can. Kind of like when you play matchmaking with your friends, everyone just kind of runs around and shoots. Somebody's got to be the goalkeeper though, and that's probably going to be the person sitting still with the op. But then to make things more efficient, you'll want to apply a system. You'll want to appoint a central midfielder to make scoring opportunities and keep up the tempo, akin to your entry fragger who leads the charge down A lawn, opening up the site for the team. You want to have someone in the back to disrupt the other team's defense, like a dedicated flank watch. As we move to the professional level, roles and strategies become more defined, using numbers to assign key positions. 3 on A, 2 on B. A simple call you might do in competitive matchmaking, but a staple in professional play. While this arrangement isn't as complex as organizing 10 football players into a 4-4-2 formation, the general concept of strategic role assignment remains the same. And just as in football, different players have different strengths and weaknesses, a concept that becomes clear with more game observation. This demonstrates a fascinating example of how the methodology and analytical aspects of traditional sports apply to Counter-Strike, and how Counter-Strike, in turn, influenced all your favorite FPS games. The 5-man concept of entry frag, second entry, flex, and defender, or any variation thereof, started with Counter-Strike, Every 5v5 plant the bomb to win game you've ever seen follows a similar structure. An aggressive player taking the lead, someone watching their back, and another holding a more defensive stance, maintaining balance between these approaches. And much like football, the school of tactics and strategy is consistently evolving, with different parts of the world becoming famous for their own particular styles of play. North American footballers are known for individual athleticism and physical strength, kind of like how American Counter-Strike players are noted for their individuality and independent mechanical playmaking skills. Whereas in Europe, teams are known for tactical discipline, strong team organization, and defensive posturing. If there's a team that's well known for its strategic breadth in CS, comparably so, it's definitely the Danish team Astralis. They are widely responsible for popularizing the game as a chess game with guns, continuing a rich tradition of sports strategy that prizes intellect and planning to achieve victory. Astralis dominated and revolutionized Counter-Strike with a strategic lever placed on grenades and utility. Their expert-level grenade play has helped cement a community culture that prioritizes thoughtfulness. Grenades can be used to take control of the map without exposing yourself to direct gunfights. Here they do just that for banana control, that acts like a major highway between the middle of the map and the B bomb site before the enemy can set foot inside of it. In the event the enemy team makes an aggressive push, Astralis uses flash grenades for their teammates to blind the enemy and give a fighting chance to hold the position. Nades in Counter-Strike are distinguished by the fact that you have to toss them like you would in reality, like a baseball. It's a big difference between Counter-Strike and other games that compete with it. In many FPS games, characters are often given an aura of superpower and can call in giant lasers from the sky, which is cool, but once again, the simplicity is the point of Counter-Strike. This mechanical design contributed to a sort of arms race in the game over how to smoke off a particular kind of window for snipers. It looks like a simple action, but every detail matters. Independently, different teams came up with different ways to hit the smoke with various trade-offs. The smoke was first done while running, which adds a margin of error to the toss, because the smoke can't be thrown too quickly or too late. Another smoke can be done a bit further up one side of the map that doesn't require a running start. There were tons of different ways teams tried to optimize this one smoke position over the course of years, going so far as to implement console scripts that allowed for jumping and throwing motions to be done with razor-thin precise timing. Just the smallest of deviations ended up making the smoke just a tiny bit better. Crouching and moving, running to the side, and jumping all essentially turned the Mirage window smoke into a community-ran physics problem. And all of this happened because you have to toss the smoke grenade manually. By making something just a bit more difficult to do, it makes each tweak and successful implementation of the tactic feel meaningful. And the craziest part was, a lot of this development happened completely naturally within the pro scene and the game's average population. The esports component isn't a separate walled-off thing. It's a backbone of the collective culture of Counter-Strike, where every brilliant display is immortalized and celebrated.
Comes once again, the first base is a Dren. He's gonna hit the ground there as Cole. Oh, what? A jumping double from Cole! What is going on right now? How does he do this? Cole is saving Luminosity with the all play. Unthinkable scenes there on the B apartments. They needed a huge play.
Counter-Strike is about as old as the internet, and it shows in its enduring popularity and long-standing community. Its simple yet deep game mechanics and vibrant esports scene both stand tall for all to see. Many have tried to emulate it, but none of them can do it quite like the king. Let us know your favorite Counter-Strike moment in the comments down below. From us at Couch Co-op, thanks for watching.
Fuckers. This is why I use traps. Just they keep. This this one looks like Payon stories because of the dungeon. Ah no. That was Abyss dungeon. Oh, he's back. I'm gonna kill him. Fuck. There's a magnet break. Dragon scale. What? It's gone. Got 6 Oris. Damn. Sell those niggas. Sell those. Oof. Alright. Not a single drop. No drop. Why is everyone quitting Valo? What server is this? That might. This is a Payon Stories, man. Damn, I'm. What? It didn't pop up. Botrix is dead too. What is happening? Ugh. I need you know what? Edit. There you go. My freaking Twitch, man. I don't know why it didn't. Now I missed.
Is Valorant dying?
There are three main reasons why I think Valorant is dying.
And why is Valorant dying?
Valorant dying is probably something you heard since 2021, but this time you actually feel it.
A game that was once regarded as a breath of fresh air has now become filled with criticizing posts from the community, with players quitting left and right. With so many complaints coming in every day, it's clear that Valorant's player base is on the decline and the game is nearing its final days. Right?
I think Valorant's dying.
Let's take a trip back to 2020. Specifically April of 2020. The entire world had just been forced into a lockdown and Riot's new game was just on the horizon.
Project A is our character-based tactical shooter. It's competitive. It has precise gunplay.
Both the game's closed beta and official release ushered in a newfound excitement for the gameplay Valorant provided. Despite not yet being global, millions of players poured in on a daily basis, and for good reason, because to say Valorant was enjoyable would honestly be an understatement.
Oh my god! Dude! You're actually... Dude! Get hot.
However, not only was Valorant fun, but Riot would communicate well with the player base, which formed a sort of bond between the two. Concerns and questions would get direct responses from developers, Q&As would pop up on a regular basis, and bugs would be patched rather quickly. Furthermore, content would continue to drop on a consistent basis, and the community's hype for new maps, agents, and skins was so extreme that it was almost palpable. Unfortunately, this wouldn't last long. As the years would tick by, the hype for new content would die down, the release of new agents, maps, and game modes would become few and far between, and Valorant's Q&As, along with their consistent communication with the player base, would be wiped off the face of the earth. Soon after, posts would begin popping up regarding the game's death. It seemed like the community finally had enough of Riot's incompetence and were now dropping the game. Queue time started getting longer, Twitch viewership numbers began dropping, and content creators stopped uploading. With so much negativity now surrounding the game, it's obvious the player count would be on a rapid decline. Except, that's just not true.
Nope.
Although Riot doesn't reveal the game's player count themselves, the information is easily attainable via tracker.gg, and according to the website's developer, they track everyone. So it's realistically the most accurate number we can get at the moment. With that being said, Valorant's player count as of January 18, 2025 is a staggering 5.5 million. Keep in mind, this isn't how many players are on at the same time, but rather how many logged in during that date. Finding out the game's concurrent players is a bit more difficult, as pretty much every website says something different. Regardless, 5.5 million is far from dead, and according to a statement by Riot themselves, Valorant is played by over 35 million players per month on PC alone. Not to mention, the game has already expanded to console and is likely to get a mobile version very soon. Furthermore, taking a look at the top 10 most watched categories on Twitch in 2023, Valorant ranked 5th place, beating popular games like Minecraft, Fortnite, and even Counter-Strike. Also, before you ask why I'm showing the 2023 statistics instead of the 2024 ones, that's because those are locked behind a paywall. Regardless, if the game isn't actually dying, then why are there so many posts claiming that it is? Well, in truth, posts like Valorant is dying aren't actually even exclusive to Valorant. If you take a step back, people questioning a game's death is actually pretty common. Is Counter-Strike dying? Is Apex dying? League is actually dying. Do you think Overwatch is dying? How long until we see the same BS is Marvel Rivals dying videos on YouTube? What's even more crazy is that not even a month after Valorant's official release, people were already claiming that the game was dead. Taking a look at the Overwatch post mentioned earlier, one Reddit user sums it up well. This is the kind of thing you hear from younger gamers. Once you've been around for a while, you realize that every single game hits a peak shortly after release and then dwindles down over time. If a game is successful enough, it simply continues on in perpetuity with a stable player base. Games don't really need vast player bases to receive continued support, they just need a few 100,000. CSGO, Team Fortress 2, Dota, League of Legends, Minecraft, Fortnite, PUBG, Apex Legends, even games like Rust or Stellaris, essentially the large staples of gaming. These are all games long past their initial peaks, but they continue on. They found their footing and that's fantastic. But younger gamers often believe a game has died for everyone just because they've lost interest themselves. There's a sort of observational dissonance with the purely black/white state. It's either peak or it's dead, with no in between. But if Valorant still has a healthy player count and continues to pull in crazy numbers on Twitch, then why does it seem like content creators are constantly claiming that the game is dead? Let's be real. You already know the answer.
It's just losing popularity, that's it. I have no idea what's happening to.
If you hadn't guessed already, the answer is views, and nothing sells better than drama and negativity. Videos that invoke any sort of negative emotion tend to draw more attention, and thus bring in hundreds of thousands of views. It's just human nature. For those already bored of the game, these videos serve as a sort of confirmation bias, making people feel understood and validated in their opinion about the game. For those who are still enjoying the game, it invokes a sense of worry and curiosity, thus leading to another click. Speaking of click, we're currently on our way to 3,000 subscribers, so if you could click that subscribe button, it would be much appreciated. Now, this isn't to say that Valorant is perfect by any means. For what it's worth, these videos do bring up some valid points about the state of the game that we'll go into later. Also, by no means am I claiming that my channel isn't sometimes guilty of the same tactic. However, even then, I try to keep my videos as objective as possible. The main problem with all this doesn't have to do with pointing out Valorant's issues. If anything, providing constructive criticism is probably one of the best things we as a community can do. The issue comes with consistently perpetuating a false narrative. All it does is make people spew more negativity and brings worry to those who are still enjoying the game. I've been seeing stuff online, such as YouTube videos talking about the downfall of the game and how they brought it over to console because of how bad it's doing. I'm having fun with the game, so I hope it's not doing poorly. So no, Valorant isn't dying, and you've fallen for the equivalent of 1910's war propaganda. However, despite the game's healthy player count, it has grown a bit stale. About 1 week ago, I made a poll asking the community if they thought Valorant was dying. Out of 440 votes, 27% claimed it was dying, 13% claimed it wasn't dying, while 58% claimed that it wasn't dying, but it was getting boring/stale. And honestly, it's true. Without a doubt, the game does need more content, more game modes, a replay system, maybe even community servers. However, for whatever reason, it seems like Riot tends to be really slow when it comes to adding features the community actually wants. It's honestly a bit depressing to look back at the game's beta and see how well the dev team used to communicate with the player base. However, the only thing the community can do is continue to advocate for the changes they want to see. Except when it comes to skin prices. I promise you, Riot is never changing those. It's been expensive since day one. But take a look at the replay system. Players began asking for a replay system on our Valorant's social media on a consistent basis, and although we didn't get a replay system, we did get an update on it, which provides the most information we've received in a long time. I truly believe that the community advocating is what got us that update, proving that the community does in fact have some power. Agree on an issue, advocate for it, and force Riot to make some sort of change. If you still enjoy playing Valorant, then by all means continue to do so and try to avoid any claims about the game dying. If you've reached a point where Valorant just isn't as fun anymore, then lucky for you, there's one simple solution. Take a fucking break. Go touch grass, go play Marvel Rivals instead, and go read a book. Okay, in all seriousness though, taking a break is really the only thing you as a player can do. It's likely the most common solution to this problem, but it's the most common because it'll probably work. You have to understand that Valorant has been out for almost 5 years, and even if you haven't been playing since release, the same gameplay loop can only be entertaining for so long. This isn't to say that you shouldn't continue to advocate for the changes you want Riot to make. You can take a break while still doing that. However, there isn't much point in forcing yourself to play a game that you don't even enjoy. It's super cliche, but it really is just the reality of things. I personally took a long break from Valorant, but after coming back and playing a few games of competitive, I did find it pretty enjoyable. Advocate for the changes you want to see, but don't be afraid to take a break from the game in the meantime and come back once it feels more fresh or once Riot have finally added the features you want. So drop the game for a bit. Play Marvel Rivals, start up that 2-week Minecraft phase, or just do anything else you actually enjoy. Once you're finally ready to come back to Valorant, just know there will still be a thriving community and player base waiting for you. If you enjoyed this video, a sub would be greatly appreciated as we're currently on our way to 3,000 subscribers. I'd also like to hear your thoughts about the state of the game, so feel free to leave a comment below. With that, thank you so much for watching and take care.
Who's this?
War in Ukraine. I have saluted the president for his initiative to make progress towards something that can be a ceasefire and an end to this terrible conflict. It is a complex picture, but it needs political will and push, and we have exchanged ideas on that. And then I think the president and his team have been open to hear our perspectives. And on trade, we have also emphasized that we can benefit, both of us, by trading, and we can be complementary, and we can find good solutions. So first of all, I appreciate, Mr. President, the spirit and the tone of this conversation, which has been confirmation of a very strong partnership.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Any questions? Yes.
First, Mr. President,
Taking a break. What the heck is this? I'm done streaming, I guess. I'm gonna finish streaming. Alright, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. I'm gonna stream tomorrow again. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. If you're on Twitch, follow me. If you're on Kick, follow me as well. See you guys tomorrow. Peace out.